Okay, so I wanted to talk about my favorite farm of the league this season with zero rarity. So I know it's everyone's favorite topic to talk about rarity again, but this farm has just been absolutely insane all season. The numbers are there in front of you. Last time I made a video talking about this, I had 650-ish, give or take, divines. We're over 800 now. So I was going to go over the tablets that I've been using and the type of maps that we have been running. These tablets are not cheap in the slightest, but the main stat that you want on these tablets is going to be the extra rares that are spawning afterwards. So you ideally want 3, but if you're on the lower end, so you can start with 1 and then just work your way up from there. The other mods that you want, that you would be looking for, would be the effectiveness. So you can look for 2 different types of effectiveness. For the effectiveness of breach monsters in the actual breaches, and then just generic monster effectiveness. The one for the breach, the rares in the breaches, goes to 20%. So if you could get as high as 20%, it would be ideal. Obviously, these tablets are pretty expensive, especially if you're adding rarity on top of them, which is not needed. I was just kind of testing it with this set to see how it goes. But I think with these, you're looking at about maybe 10, 15 divines a piece, depending on the market when you're buying them. So it's a four tablet setup because you will be running this inside the cities. It's just easier that way, because if you're running them inside the cities, you get to use the 4 tablets, and then from there it just makes it so much easier to get all the good loot, because obviously you get an extra tablet. So getting an extra tablet then lets you take full advantage of all these city nodes here. You definitely want to be using at least a 4 or 5 on this one. Anything less is kind of not as great, and these ones are not even that expensive. And in terms of the pack size, you would look for, you don't want to go too far negative. I would say -8 is where you kind of want to leave it at. Any bit more and the maps kind of start to feel a little bit hard to fill out the breach bar when you're doing the breaches, especially if you get one of the bad layouts that you could get, kind of one of the awkward ones with Jado when he is transforming your maps into a different one. So speaking about Jado is the one that you're going to be using to run this. He's the best, because the way the effect he has on the tablets are just, it's hard to beat. With any of the other ones, would it be Hilda or Doriani, you just get more value out of it. This is the setup that I've been using. It's been working extremely well, as you can see. The type of maps that you're running, you could do 16s, you could do 15s. The only thing that you would look for on these, it would be, again, the effectiveness and a bit of rarity. The part that you want is to kind of get them around the 70% in total. So a combination of the rarity and effectiveness as high and above as 70% as you can. And kind of from there, you can kind of price them yourself. I would craft them myself. They're a bit easier to make than to buy them, because last time I checked, these were about 3 divines a piece. You can make them for a lot less. And in terms of T15s or T16s, the return is kind of the same. It's just whether you want the higher level bases when you'll be dropping from Jado for the exceptional bases. That would kind of be the only difference between running 15s or 16s. I would give 16s a try if you can. They're obviously going to be on the more expensive side of things. Definitely be worth it to do if you're able to run 16s for sure. Also, another thing that you will want to add to all these city zones that you will be running is trying to add delirium on top of it as much as you can. So obviously you're going to start with 10%, and then from 10% every time you complete a map, it's going to go up. In terms of running the maps around the cities before you go into the actual city maps to scale the delirium, I don't think it's needed, because once you're doing all these rares that are coming out of them, the deli fills up. The deli bar fills up extremely fast, so you can go from 10% to over 100% in one map. So after pretty much 1.5 maps, 2 maps at most, your bar will be sitting at 200% for the rest of these. So if you really wanted to go around the edges and clean up all the leftover deli maps just before you go into the main one in the city, you can, but it just takes up so much time. It's definitely an option that you could do. I definitely don't think it's needed, because it's just all the main loot is going to be coming from the cities rather than all the deli maps on the outside. But if you do want to run the maps that are on the outside before going into the middle to do the cities, I'd switch to Doriani. It's just the bonuses that he gets from the deli when you're doing it are just better than Jado, because you don't really care about the maps on the outside, so the increased effect from tablets doesn't matter. The corrupted waystones, you don't need to corrupt these ones when you're running the deli on the outside. Could use Hilda for more rares if you wanted to. Kind of a personal preference there, whether you want the plus levels and effectiveness through Doriani on the outside maps. The thing with Doriani is you get the 10% chance to make maps accessible, which can speed up the process if you're trying to get as fast as you can into the cities if you're coming from the outside. So that would be my recommendation, is to go for this setup if you're going for the outside maps. But again, like I said, it's not needed. You can just set up the delirium inside the cities and then just work your way into the cities as fast as you can, and then from there it should be pretty easy to fill them out. Obviously run the boss at the end. Once you're done, just maximize the loot. Also, for the deli maps on the outside and for all the travel maps in between the cities, you just use 3 deli tablets. It doesn't matter what is on them at all. Just make them rare and then run them. The mods on those don't matter in the slightest. All you want to do is just get from city to city as fast as you can, spawning the grand mirrors, and then just working your way from that. So again, the mods on those deli tablets don't really matter at all. They're kind of just a filler, just so the delirium is spawning, so that we can use it then for the cities.